You know that in origami we have what are referred to as bases. That is, models that start from a common base pattern and many other items come from it. In folding hexagonal paper we also have bases, and I'm going to show you the first base in this video. We're going to start with a sheet of hexagonal paper, and before I go too far, let me just show you some of the lids. These are triangular shaped lids from a hexagonal sheet of paper. So we have the base unit, which is not really decorated per se, there's no embellishments on it, and then this would be the lid. And so by using a different base that I'm going to show you, you can make these different types of lids, and there's so many different ones, more than I've got time to show you here, but just many different beautiful designs that come from these bases that were created by Arnold Tubis. And we've got a book out. It's coming out soon. Hopefully it's out by the time you watch this, but at any rate, these patterns are similar to origami base patterns from square paper, where you might want to create a 6 or 8 of them, just have them all standing by, and then you can fold any of these patterns to make the resulting box. So let's go ahead and just look at this first pattern. It's as I said, we're going to start from hex, and I'm going to be creasing across the diagonal, and my paper's not 100% beautifully perfectly hexagonal because I kind of hand cut them, and I found that the best way to get really correctly sized hexagonal paper with all the sides equal is with a machine. It's really the only way to get it, but for this purposes it'll work great. Okay, so I've just creased across, and I kind of messed up there. I'd like to grab another sheet here. And so we're just going to start with this hexagonal sheet of paper. I'm going to zoom out just a tiny bit so that you get all of the paper in there. We're going to crease across the diagonal, that is where the points are, not where the straight side of the hex is, but on the long side, so to speak. And this paper isn't perfect. I kind of hand cut it, and it's not perfect, but I found that really the only way to get perfect paper is to put it in a machine and have it cut. Alright, so I've got these diagonals in here. What we're going to do is I'm just going to crease across, and then we're going to take this corner and bring it down, and we'll have this shape here. And one side is just got one flap, and this one has 2 on the left. And what we're going to do is we're going to crease down, and this length here that we're going to do is about 1/6. It's not critical that it be exact, but I'm just using that as a base. And then what we're going to do is sink that. So if I open it up, you'll see that we have a triangle there. One mountain. I'm going to turn these other 2 into mountains so we can drop them. You may be familiar with doing a sink with square paper. It's a pretty common maneuver, and in our case we've got just 3 sides rather than 2. Rather than 4 sides to work with. So here's the sink. I'll return it to the original. So I have. Now, it's very handy if you have a little creasing tool. I like to use them to get the paper completely flat, and you can use almost anything, a pencil or pen, something like that, just to get it really flat. The next step we're going to do is I'm going to take the 2 flaps that I see here, and we're going to crease them up to the top. So we're going to be putting this edge even with the center, and I can see it pretty easily there. And we'll do this. This causes a right angle on this flap here. We're going to turn it over and do the same thing on the back side, so all of them have the same crease there. Now, when I open this up, we're going to see a triangle that is formed in the middle. The next step before I open it up, though, is I'm going to take each of the fins on the side here, each of these flaps, and we're going to crease them such that they are equal to the center line that we creased right there. So I'm going to leave that just like so. And we're using the top as the pivot. The little spot right there is the pivot point for these. This will cause each of the fins to be exactly the same size. On the back side it can kind of match up. And now if you hold those fins flat and then open the model, you'll see in the middle a triangle is formed. And this is the completed form, base form 1, and we have about I think 8 or 9 total forms, and this form can then be folded into any of these wonderful boxes that come from it. So the different boxes derive from this. So I like to make a handful of these and then just have them and maybe even label them with a pencil until you get familiar with them. And so that's how to crease the base number 1.